Some paradoxes make you think. These ones, they break reality. From objects that create themselves to surprises that can't exist. This episode is going to mess with your brain. What if something could exist without ever being created? What if feeling safe actually made you more vulnerable? And what if knowing about a surprise made it impossible to happen? Let's find out. Two sharp minds are here to break these paradoxes down, or just make them worse.
I'm Lena, and my job is simple. Ask the big questions, question the answers, and probably make things way more confusing.
And I'm Dr. Omar. I've spent years studying paradoxes, and I promise, by the end of this, you might start questioning everything you thought was true.
Get ready, because these paradoxes might just break your brain. Let's dive in. Ever heard a story so weird it feels like it came from nowhere? What if it actually did?
Okay, this one already hurts my brain. Imagine this. You find an ancient book filled with knowledge about future technology. You study it, take notes, and eventually, years later, you publish your own version of it. Now fast forward. Someone from the future finds your book and takes it back in time, handing it to your younger self. So, who actually wrote it? It just exists in a loop with no original creator. That makes zero sense.
Exactly. Welcome to the bootstrap paradox, where something exists without ever being created. It's a classic time travel mindbender. An object, an idea, or even a person gets caught in a loop with no real beginning. Imagine a musician who never learns how to play guitar but goes back in time to teach their younger self. They grow up with the skill and repeat the cycle. But hold on, where did the original knowledge come from? It's as if reality is borrowing from itself.
Wait. So you're telling me something can exist without an original cause? That completely breaks everything I know about logic, cause, and effect. I mean, things are supposed to have a starting point. You can't just have a book, a song, or an invention appear out of nowhere. If this paradox is real, does that mean we could just steal knowledge and technology from the future and pretend we invented it? What's stopping us from jumping ahead, grabbing a cure for cancer and bringing it back? Would we have invented it? Or would we just be stuck in the loop forever?
That's the paradox. Normally, every event has a cause, but in a bootstrap paradox, cause and effect loop infinitely, meaning the event has no clear origin. It's like reality is borrowing from itself, without ever paying the debt. And here's where it gets even weirder. Some physicists think this could actually happen in quantum mechanics. Some particles seem to pop in and out of existence in ways we don't fully understand. So if information, energy, or even objects could somehow exist without an original source, does that mean reality is self-creating?
Oh no, you're not about to tell me that our entire universe could be one big bootstrap paradox, are you? If things can just exist without a beginning, does that mean reality itself might have no real origin? What if the Big Bang wasn't the start of everything? What if the universe is just stuck in a loop, expanding and collapsing over and over again, without ever really having a first moment? Are we just living inside one giant paradox?
That's the terrifying part. If something can exist without ever being created, then where do ideas, objects, or even the universe itself really come from? Maybe we're all just trapped in a loop we don't understand. But speaking of things that make no sense, why do we pay more for things we need less? The value paradox is next, and it's just as frustrating.
So, if something can exist without a beginning, does that mean anything can appear out of nowhere? But if you think that's weird, wait until you hear why things become more valuable when we need them less. The value paradox is next. Water keeps us alive. Diamonds don't. So why do we pay more for something we don't need?
All right, someone explain this to me like I'm 5. If I don't drink water, I die. If I never own a diamond, I'm completely fine. So why is water cheap while diamonds cost a fortune? Shouldn't the things we need be worth more? I mean, imagine you're stranded in a desert. Would you rather have a bucket of diamonds or a bottle of water? The answer's obvious. So why are we out here paying thousands for shiny rocks instead of treating water like liquid gold?
Welcome to the value paradox, where what's useful and what's valuable are completely different things. You'd think we assign value based on how important something is, right? But nope. The real driver of value is scarcity. Water is everywhere, so even though we need it, it's cheap. But diamonds, they're hard to find, so we pay more for them. The paradox is that we're not paying for survival. We're paying for rarity.
Hold on, so if something is too common, we just decide it's not worth much. That's ridiculous. That means the moment we find more of something valuable, it actually loses value? So if tomorrow we discovered a giant asteroid made of pure diamonds, would diamonds suddenly become worthless? And what about digital stuff? NFTs, rare sneakers, limited edition collectibles? Are we just tricking ourselves into paying more for things simply because they're harder to get?
You're exactly right. That's why artificial scarcity is a thing. Companies limit supply on purpose to make something seem more valuable than it actually is. Luxury brands do this all the time. They release limited editions to make people desperate to buy them. Same with NFTs, sports tickets, even digital products. The weird thing is, if something is common, we stop caring about it, even if it's essential. Imagine if we only had 10 bottles of clean water left on Earth. Suddenly, water would be more valuable than gold.
So we're literally creating fake value by making things harder to get? That's insane. That means most of what we pay for isn't based on real value. It's just based on perceived rarity. Does that mean the entire economy is just one big psychological trick? If something only has value because we decide it does that mean it actually has no real value at all? What if we're overpaying for everything?
That's the paradox. The things we need most are often worth the least, while things we don't need at all become status symbols. It's why we don't think twice about spending $5 on coffee, but feel weird about tipping $1 for water at a restaurant. If our perception of value can be manipulated, what else are we getting wrong? But speaking of false security, what if the safer we feel, the closer we are to disaster? The stability-instability paradox is next, and it might change how you see the world.
So, if value is just an illusion, what else are we overpaying for? But if you think that's unsettling, wait until you hear why the more stable things seem, the closer they are to collapse. The stability-instability paradox is next. The safer things seem, the more fragile they might actually be. What if stability is just an illusion?
All right, I have a huge problem with this one. Imagine two countries. Both have nuclear weapons, but they never use them because they know that would mean mutual destruction. That sounds like a stable situation, right? But hold on, if one side even slightly miscalculates, the entire world could end instantly. How is that stable? It feels like the opposite of stability, like we're one bad decision away from total collapse at all times. That's not stability. That's just living on a knife's edge.
You nailed it. This is the stability-instability paradox, where things seem stable, but they're actually dangerously fragile. The idea is simple. The more stable a system appears, the bigger the disaster when something finally goes wrong. Think about a tightrope walker. If they feel too confident, they stop paying attention, and then they fall. The same thing happens in economics, politics, and even nature. The moment we assume we're safe, we actually become more vulnerable.
Oh no, this explains so much. So you're telling me that the safer we think we are, the closer we are to disaster? That's terrifying. This is like when the stock market looks completely fine for years. So people take bigger and bigger risks, and then, boom, a massive crash out of nowhere. Or when a company thinks they're too big to fail, and then suddenly they collapse overnight. So does that mean the real danger isn't in chaos, but in overconfidence?
Exactly. When people believe nothing can go wrong, they stop preparing for problems. This creates hidden risks that build up over time. That's why wars can erupt suddenly, why economies crash unexpectedly, and why even relationships fall apart when people assume everything is fine. Stability creates complacency, and complacency makes people blind to warning signs. And here's the scariest part. When the collapse does happen, it's always way bigger than anyone expected because no one was ready for it.
Oh, great. Now I feel like everything is secretly one step away from falling apart. If true stability is just an illusion, does that mean we should always be on edge? Should we never trust that things are okay? Or is there actually a way to balance safety and preparedness without being paranoid 24/7? Because if ignoring risks is bad, but obsessing over them is also bad, then what's the right approach?
That's the paradox. Too much stability makes us fragile, but too much fear stops progress. The real solution? Controlled instability. Small disruptions that keep us alert before disaster hits. But speaking of unpredictability, what if knowing that something unexpected is coming actually prevents it from being unexpected? The unexpected hanging paradox is next, and it will break your brain.
So, if stability is just an illusion, How do we actually protect ourselves from disaster? But before we solve that, let's talk about something even stranger. What if expecting a surprise makes it impossible to happen? The unexpected hanging paradox is next. If you know something surprising is coming, is it still a surprise? Or did you just make it impossible?
Imagine a prisoner on death row. The judge tells him, "You'll be executed sometime next week, but the exact day will be a surprise." The prisoner starts thinking logically. If it's Friday, he'll know by Thursday night, so Friday can't be the surprise. Then, if Friday is ruled out, Thursday is the last possible day, meaning it can't be a surprise either. He keeps eliminating days until, boom, he convinces himself the execution can't happen at all. But then one morning the guards show up and he's completely shocked. So what just happened? How was he wrong?
Welcome to the unexpected hanging paradox, where logic says something shouldn't happen, but it still does. The prisoner's mistake: he assumed his reasoning was flawless. But just because he eliminated every option in his head doesn't mean reality follows his logic. The surprise happens because he thinks it can't happen. And this isn't just a thought experiment. It happens in real life all the time.
Oh no, this explains so much. This is why stock market crashes happen even when experts say they won't. People logically predict that if a crash was coming, they'd see the warning signs, so they assume it won't happen yet. And then, boom, the crash happens because no one expected it. Or when someone keeps saying, "This relationship is fine," ignoring every red flag, and then they're shocked when their partner leaves. So, are we constantly being blindsided just because we think we're too smart to be surprised?
Exactly. The moment we convince ourselves that something can't happen, we stop preparing for it, which makes the shock even worse. It's why businesses fail when they assume they're too big to collapse. It's why people get scammed even when they say, "I would never fall for that." And here's the kicker. If you expect something unexpected, it loses the very thing that makes it unexpected. That's the paradox.
Oh, great. So now I feel like expecting to be surprised actually prevents surprises, but not expecting them makes them more likely. This is like saying the only way to win the game is to not play. So what do we even do? If being too prepared removes the surprise, but being unprepared makes it worse, then is the only solution to just accept that we're going to be blindsided by life forever?
That's the unsettling part. Some surprises are unavoidable. No matter how much we analyze, overthink, or try to predict the future, reality will always find a way to shock us. The best way to handle it? Stay open to the unexpected. And if you think this paradox is frustrating, wait until you hear the next one. Because what if the past and future are just one big self-creating loop? The bootstrap paradox is coming back, and this time it might break your sense of reality for good.
If paradoxes like this blow your mind, click on the next video, because trust me, there's plenty more reality-breaking ideas waiting for you.